Thank you very much for giving me this opportunity today. Go ahead and move to the next slide, please. And one more. Okay, so one thing that I'm really passionate about is zone of proximal development, and it's this idea that we need to make sure that we're teaching our students at their level. It's really hard to do because we have students at all different levels in our classroom, and unfortunately the response from everyone is, oh, just differentiate, and that can be really, really overwhelming. But I found some interesting pieces of information as I went through my Edulastic results and really started to ask my students questions and get some ideas of exactly where they stand and where they're coming from when they're doing work from home. So anyway, on this slide, if you look, I got a lot more responses for my second lesson than I did my first. And what I found was my first lesson was a little bit outside of their zone of proximal development. So right away with Edulastic, I found that it was really starting to tell me where I needed to go and what I needed to do with my future lessons and presentations. Okay, next slide. Okay, so ways that I kind of developed to make sure that the assessments I was giving with distance learning were going to be helpful is by using exit tickets and doing different formative assessments so that I knew the work that I was giving them at home was going to be completed. And those of you that follow Joe Bowler, you know that it's just so important that students come into the classroom with a positive attitude and don't feel defeated when they walk into the room. So kids successfully completing the work from home or that individual work during distance learning really had a much better attitude the next time that we met, the next time they came to school, you know, whatever the situation, depending on whether or not we were allowed to have school or not. Okay, next slide, please. Okay, the second thing I wanted to talk about is redirect, and it's something that I enjoyed right from the beginning. I had some questions at first, so hopefully I can save you some of my searching. I use redirect when work is not completed or it's not completed well, or a student just simply requests to retake an assessment of any kind, whether formative or summative. During these last couple of months, I allowed both. You know, that gets into kind of teaching philosophy of what you want to do, what you're willing to accept. Next slide, please. So here's an example of when I would use redirect. The student on the far left was marked absent, and so I would just click on the box there in the upper right-hand corner of orange bowl and then just go over and hit redirect. But I also wanted to point out the student in the middle with the 63% in my classroom also has the opportunity to retake. So it really doesn't matter for me what their score is, but I want them to be able to retake assignments and ask questions from me and get some intervention. And even many times I just use redirect for extended time. Next slide, please. So here's an example of what it looks like when you get your redirect information. You can click on which attempt and their total score is shown, but one thing that I really love about using Edulastic for my distance learning is all the information it gives me about time on task, when they completed it, and then I can ask them questions about that. So when I see a student only took 8 minutes on an assignment and got a 5 out of 5, maybe that assignment was a little bit too easy. And I need to talk to them about maybe some more challenging problems the next time. Okay, next slide. Okay, one thing I noticed is once you redirect an assignment for a student, the first score can't be seen anymore. So I highly recommend that if you do use redirect, that you record that first score. And that way, no matter what, you've got that first score recorded, whether they do the redirect or not. Then what I do from there is I put all of the responsibility on my students. They have to request the redirect, and they have to request for that redirect to be graded. I do not just hand them any kind of redirect. They have to do all of that requesting on their own. And during distance learning, that was so important because I can't just keep going back into all of my assignments when some were being turned in a week or two too late for various reasons, and figure out who's done and who isn't. So with all of my distance learning projects, assignments, everything, anything that was turned in after a deadline, students had to request for me to go back in and check their work. Okay. If you have any questions, that's my email. Feel free to email me anytime.